You know, I think the most bold decision I've made in a very long time is deciding to go to a premiere for a DC movie wearing a Marvel shirt. Some of the looks I got were interesting to say the least. The Batman is the latest movie featuring the Caped Crusader, starring Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, as well as Jeffrey Wright, Andy Serkis, Colin Farrell, Paul Dano, John Turturro, Peter Skarsgård, among many other actors in this movie. This is a stacked cast, along with, Matt Reeves directing this movie, someone who I believe has never made a bad film. Batman ventures into Gotham City's underworld when a sadistic killer leaves behind a trail of cryptic clues. As the evidence begins to lead closer to home and the scale of the perpetrator's plans become clear, he must forge new relationships, unmask the culprit, and bring justice to the abuse of power and corruption that has long plagued the metropolis. Now guys, before I give you my review of The Batman, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Have you seen it yet? Have you not? Are you excited? Or did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you someone right in the middle? Please comment down below. Let me know. I was lucky enough to be invited to an early premiere screening of The Batman here in Brisbane tonight, which, due to the current floods going on in Brisbane at the moment with how shitty ass fucking weather, this was kind of a nightmare to get through in regards to finding a route where the roads weren't fucking flooded. But I digress. I was extremely excited for The Batman. When I heard that Robert Pattinson was cast as Bruce Wayne, Batman himself, I was actually really excited because in past years he's been in so many great movies, some of my favorites being The Lighthouse, Good Time, and High Life. And when it comes to Robert Pattinson, I think he's a great actor. I also think that this entire cast as a whole is fucking fantastic. John Turturro, aside from Transformers, I think is mostly great for the most part. Jeffrey Wright is an actor I've just loved forever. Andy Serkis is just my bread and butter in regards to great roles such as, fucking Caesar in Planet of the Apes and Gollum, Smeagol in Lord of the Rings, among many others. Zoe Kravitz is an actress that while I'm not particularly well versed in, I have seen her in a lot of stuff and loved her in pretty much everything I've seen. And Paul Dano, come on. Paul Dano is a phenomenal fucking actor who, in Prisoners in particular, is absolutely stellar. And, of course, Colin Farrell as Penguin. With this stacked cast, how could you not be excited for this movie? I also had some minor reservations though, for the reason that I, with comic book movies, have kind of fallen out of love because I feel that it's just the same rehashed bullcrap over and over again. Well, not bullcrap, that's a little harsh. I've just sort of fallen out of love because it does feel like a lot of recycled stuff in regards to the same plot over and over again. It's a very familiar scheme in regards to a very familiar formula, and it just doesn't feel like anything new. Granted, you could say this about every film that we get these days, but they all have their own unique flair, and while comic book movies have this, there was something different about The Batman, especially after seeing it. The Batman is my favorite comic book movie in years. I loved this more than Zack Snyder's Justice League. I enjoyed it more than Spider-Man No Way Home. I enjoyed it way more than Avengers Endgame because in recent years I've kind of been like, ooh, Endgame's not that great in my opinion. But The Batman is a stellar piece of filmmaking. My biggest praise right off the bat is that this isn't much of an action movie. This is a very gothic type film. The gothic vibe that it has, almost going into at times horror territory, especially with the way the Riddler is handled, is mesmerizing. This is very much so more of a follow the breadcrumbs, fill out the riddles, and literally a detective movie. And I love that idea and that aspect of the Batman. Yes, there are action scenes here and there that are absolutely amazing. The hand-to-hand combat, the chase sequences, one in particular in regards to the Batmobile chasing down the Penguin is phenomenal. By the way, can I just say this is my favorite Batmobile that's ever been put to screen. This thing is fucking beautiful. But in regards to this being a gothic type DC Batman movie, with it being more of an investigative drama, I really dug this movie and really chewed up every scene that was provided to me. The camaraderie and also the chemistry between every actor on screen, whether it was Robert Pattinson with Zoe Kravitz or Robert Pattinson with, Andy Serkis, among many others, like Jeffrey Wright with Robert Pattinson once again is amazing. John Turturro as Carmine Falcone was amazing. Not going to say much about him because he hasn't been prominently marketed in the trailers too much, although you do see him. He is fucking phenomenal, and I need to put that out there right away. John Turturro, in my opinion, along with Paul Dano as the Riddler, were the standout performances in this movie that just stole the show whenever they were on screen. I can't also undermine Colin Farrell, who literally disappears into the role of Penguin. Like, it's not even just the makeup, his performance as a whole and his presentation on screen is amazing. And Robert Pattinson, as well as Bruce Wayne, the Batman, is very different to any portrayal of Batman we've ever seen. His very quiet demeanor makes him very menacing and big in presence. He's very serious throughout this entire film, very quiet, very monotone, but that also works to his advantage in regards to his performance and different portrayal in regards to what he's going through as a second-year Batman. This is second year, and he is just incredible in the role, physically, emotionally, and dramatically as well. I think Robert Pattinson is one of the better Batmans we've seen. Granted, I enjoy every Batman we've ever seen to screen aside from George Clooney. Fucking batnips for days, boy. But I think Robert Pattinson does a phenomenal job, and Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman as well is just fucking perfect casting if I've ever seen it. I think Matt Reeves' direction as well, for the most part, is brilliant. The way he films certain scenes without giving spoilers away is mesmerizing on a presentation standpoint and on a technical level as well. This movie has so many technical things that happen and are achieved where I question how they were even pulled off. I also think the story that's told is something that's emotionally different to anything we've seen in regards to Batman on the big screen, whether it's the Dark Knight trilogy or the Keaton movies or Val Kilmer's or, you know, Neville Clooney. But I really think that this movie has a certain place in regards to the difference in regards to Batman's portrayal. Like, I love also Ben Affleck's Batman, but I can't really comment too much on him in a solo movie because we never got that. But in regards to solo Batman movies, Robert Pattinson's The Batman might be one of my favorites. I will always have a soft spot having grown up with the Keaton movies personally, as well as Val Kilmer's. But in regards to overall drama and emotional Batman movies, in regards to the feel overall, this is a very dark movie tonally as well as visually at times, but this is still a stunning movie to look at. I also have to praise the costume design on hand and bringing a more modern day look to Batman himself. The look of Batman, with this being his second year, it's all very tacky, it's very rugged. Yes, the gadgets are there, but the bullet holes on it, and as well as like the very tacky sort of underdeveloped, I will say, an imperfect mask he has is fucking splendid. Again though, I'm not going to undermine the action scenes. I think the action scenes on a hand-to-hand combat level and filmmaking and editing is great. Michael Giacchino, I believe that's how you say his name, his score is insanely good. I was chewing it up and I said to my buddy after we left the theater, the first thing I said to him when the fucking credits started rolling was, holy shit, Michael Giacchino's score is just incredible. His Batman theme, along many other themes throughout the movie, and his score, his OST, his original soundtrack is just insanely good. I want to talk about so many aspects with this movie that I just can't because of spoilers, unfortunately. But The Batman is one of my favorite comic book movies, if not my favorite comic book movies in recent years. This is a really profound achievement with comic book filmmaking and filmmaking in general on a technical level and on an emotional level. If I was to say if I had any issues with this movie, it was the sloppy, almost thrown together execution of the third act. While I enjoyed the third act and what it portrayed in regards to action and levity, I felt like it took away a lot of what made the rest of the film so special in regards to a detective movie. Yes, this is obviously the climax, but in regards to the big climax, what happens, what leads them to the final moment, the final level, I'm going to call it, in regards to the final confrontation with Batman and the big villain of the movie, without saying anything, obviously, I think that the movie does a great job, but it just feels like it's sloppily thrown together without much structure, and it's almost as if they had no idea how they wanted to get from point A to B. It just doesn't feel like it's handled as well as they wanted it to be, or as they intended it to be. While it's still a visual splendor and it's very entertaining to watch, the more I thought about it, the first 2 acts are more interesting, more investive, and a lot more intriguing and overall perfected in comparison to the very sloppily thrown together and written 3rd act, where it didn't even feel like they had any idea as to how they wanted the movie to end. But in regards to issues, that's really my only issue with the movie. The final act is just very sloppy overall and is the least interesting part of the film. There's one thing I also forgot to mention, and it would be a sin for me not to mention it considering a track record I have on the channel. Paul Dano's the Riddler at times feels like fucking Jigsaw. There are some major Saw vibes in this movie. I'm not gonna say why, but watch the movie. You will know what I'm talking about, and I love it. There are certain things I want to mention, and there are certain things I want to talk about, but I can't in a spoiler-free review. The movie's not out yet. I don't know if I'm going to do a spoiler review. I'm not going to promise anything because I have a bad track record of promising shit that never comes true on this channel. My bad, guys. But The Batman is a great movie that I think a lot of people should really go see. If you want a different, unique, and special comic book movie that tends to go away from the usual formula, whether it's DC or Marvel, you name it, this is the movie for you. I think Robert Pattinson is great, as well as the rest of the cast. I think Matt Reeves is a splendid director who brings his own vision to light with The Dark Knight, the Caped Crusader in the cowl being Batman. I think this is a very unique way to tell the story of Batman. That is one that I couldn't get enough of, and I can't wait to see again. So with all that said, guys, I'm going to give The Batman an A-. So guys, what did you think of The Batman? I want to see what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you somewhere right in the middle? Please comment down below. Let me know. Do be sure to also follow the social medias at Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and Twitch to watch my live streams and keep updated future content and coming to the channel. Do be sure to click the subscribe button and the bell to get notified when new videos are up every single week. And I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.